Hello from Toronto and Australia. We are connected to this beautiful woman, and she's from Gold Coast, which is my favorite place. And we're going to talk about from chaos to calmness. If you want to be part of this show, you can go to my website, pantacalhor.com, or you can go acechoice.com, acechoiceidea.com, and you can also subscribe to Panta Calhor Transition channel to continue watching these interviews. Be with us till the end. Hopefully, we can have you join us by end of this show. That was Gold Coast. Very similar. So thank you so much to be my guest today. Actually, Kate was always my supporter. She was in my another summit, and she talked about very interesting topic about the breath, right? And because I told her I already had asthma, and the holistic medicine really helped me. Right now, I have a little bit cold,
Yeah, you
and
sound a bit
yeah,
croaky.
yeah. But breath really helps to not only to be calm but also can improve our health. So I'm gonna have Kate Kendall talk about herself because we didn't have time in summit to talk individually, right?
Yeah.
She's a health coach and mindset coach, and yeah, she's working on breath work. Welcome to my show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I love what you do and getting the message out for people to look for alternative ways, to heal themselves. And yeah, thank you for having me. So yeah, I'm a health and wellness coach. I started as a personal trainer about 8 years ago, and it just as evolved as as I've grown and as I've gone along, just not about the physical aspect. And I got into more of the mindset as I went on my personal, my own personal journey. And I came across breath work, probably about 7 years ago in my for my own self, because I was going through some healing and heartache, and you know just some challenging times myself. So I came across, and I went to an actual workshop, or a retreat type thing, and just fell in love with it. It was very daunting, at the beginning, because it was something unfamiliar and different. And it's the breath work that I do myself, and a couple other methods, that I really want to talk about. The core clearing breath work. A lot of people know about Wim Hof and the holotropic and box breathing and all those, kind of different ones. And the core clearing breath work is a beautiful, the feedback I get is, if they've done other breathing, is that this is a really softer and non-intrusive process. So it's moving from the head to the heart. So there's layers. So we have the thoughts, the feelings, and then the emotions. It's because we live so much up in our head with, and the stress in life, and the beliefs and all those things that we've created. The head just goes crazy all the time with all these these thoughts. So we don't want to we want to listen and observe those thoughts and acknowledge those thoughts, and then we want to go deeper. So we go through a process with the breathing down into the emotions and the feelings. I know that wasn't part of your question. I kind of jumped ahead a bit quickly, but yeah. So I just fell in love with this process of being able to move from my head to your heart, and it's the thing that got me, excited me when I was kind of doing the work was, I had this thing with anger, and I just was storing anger because I didn't think I was an angry person, and had shame around anger. And that's what a lot of people that I work with, and is that there's so much shame around our emotions, about sadness, about anger, more of the what we label as negative. But they're actually really resourceful emotions. It's just people who don't know how to use them. So that's why I love teaching, teaching people how to understand those and let go of that shame and guilt around those things, and be able to heal from past experiences. And the process you go through doesn't, what I liked, because there was some trauma that I had back back in my early 20s that I had kind of pushed away, but to be able to let go of that and come to peace with that, to be able to allow myself to process it, and through the breath was such a soft, gentle way to be able to do that, and
So
just have fell in
except
love with it.
the sorry, except the headache, what else? What other physical problem did you have that you could solve it with the breath work?
Yeah, I get a lot. Like I used to get a lot of headaches, migrainey kind of headaches, and I can use the breath to move through that. Um, Helps with sleep, getting to sleep. Helps with moving through the anger. As I said, the anger process, when anything comes up that you can feel the body getting, building up, just using the breath to be able to calm the nervous system down, and be able to release those emotions, so you can cycle through the layers of those emotions to come back to peace. But there's longer processes and shorter processes that you can use in I use the in everyday life. If I'm feeling that I'm getting angry, or I'm starting to get a headache, I'll use the breath
So,
to calm the nervous system down to do that.
so let's say you're very angry right now. Wow.
Yep.
How can you control it?
How do I
What's the
control it?
first step? Yeah, what's the first step?
If I can feel it happening, if I was sitting here and I can feel it happening, and I was here talking, of I would just start to breathe in my nose and out my mouth. And if I couldn't do that, obviously, because I'm talking, I would breathe in my nose and out my nose, because we're very mouth breathers, and that's a problem with sleep. We've got people snoring, and there's a lot of studies showing that because we're mouth breathers, that is, having so many effects on other areas of our health. And there was something. It was funny. There was a comment someone had made on a post around breath, and they said, "Oh, you learn how to breathe. This is ridiculous. It's a scam. We learned how to breathe when we were kids." And it's really fascinating, like doing all the studies and all that kind of studies around the sleep and how people are breathing. Just that, yes, we know how to breathe every day, but we're not breathing properly. So yeah, I just breathe in my. If I'm feeling something that's, if I wasn't talking or whatever, and I was, in a moment where something comes up, I would just close my eyes, and I would take 5 breaths, breathing in my nose, out my mouth, and just continue that process. And it just it calms the nervous system down. It takes practice. It's not something that I was able to do straight away. Like even at the dentist, I went a few months back, and it was a new dentist that I went to, just to get my normal clean. And the things that the person was saying, as well as the being in, I had a trauma, I just had never had traumatic experiences at dentists, but the last couple of times I'd been, I did. And I could feel myself panicking. It's the first time I've ever had a panic attack. I could feel myself starting to have a panic attack, and I hadn't felt that before. And it was kind of this fearful experience that I was like I was going to be jumping out of a plane. And so I ended up, I just started breathing. Even though I had my mouth open, I did the nose breathing, which was great because I knew how to do that. And next minute I was calming down and just had, shut out what was going on around me, and just was able to be within my body. It was so powerful because I hadn't used it. I hadn't had that experience for such a long time, or to that extent. So yeah, it's just powerful.
When you're angry, um, I think the root of anger is for sometimes comes from exhaustion.
Yep.
I thought about it a lot. It happens. Let's
Yep.
say you have a little girl, you have a little baby,
Yep.
and she's always resisting doing something you want her to do that make you
Yep.
angry, right? Or um, let's say there are lots of tasks you have to do, and these are you need to do it by end of the day,
Yep.
but you don't have enough energy to do it, and that makes you angry. So how can we actually control this anger, right? When before, when I was single, it was so easy. I said, okay, I'm not gonna do it, right? That's it.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you actually have to do it, and you are stressed out and you are angry, what do you have to do?
Yeah, it's a big thing for mums, isn't it? And dads, when you're on your own and there's things you just got to do. And it does, like what you're saying about the tiredness, because it all affects, when stress affects sleep, you're not sleeping well enough. It's just such, then the anger and frustration, it all builds up. And it, just on the anger part, can be a lot about things that need to be said, resentment, things that need to be, that are unresolved, or you want to say to someone, which is what anger can be, and exhaustion, which you just said. So the little tips that I would give if someone's in that position is it's challenging, because you got this child that's pulling at you and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a mum, so I haven't had that experience, but what I get my ladies to do is to be able to just do a couple of breaths. Like, it doesn't have to be half an hour or 20 minutes or anything like that. If you can do it for just 3 or 4, 5 breaths, and just keep practicing that in the moment,
Oh,
will
show
help
us,
to.
show us how you can do it. Which kind
Yeah,
of
sure.
this breathing style? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can either just breathing in your nose, so breathing in, out your mouth. So about a 4 or 5 count up. So breathing in, so you can start to feel the body relax as you go through each breath, and just continuing to do that in small pockets throughout the day is the key. Like, not just always doing it at the time when you're reactive. It's about practicing it more throughout the day where you can, so that the responses aren't as, you're not going to respond as rapidly to that moment, that heat of the moment, when things are frustrating, and you're tired. So that's what my recommendation would be, is to continue that practice regularly throughout the day. It's only a couple of minutes, or not even a
Yeah.
minute, 30 seconds, you could do that.
Yeah,
Does that
it's
make sense?
exactly like mindfulness, like in the morning when you do your yoga or you do your meditation.
Yep.
I feel that it really helps. Some people
Yeah.
say, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, you just try not to think about anything else, or
Yep.
to me, mindfulness, or as I say, this meditation,
Mm.
even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, you try
Yeah.
not to think about anything else, like no dishes, no nothing, nothing to annoy you, yeah, right?
Oh,
You
there's always
just
something
try
to do.
to clear, and it's like a puzzle, piecing back together, like everything in a place. Because
Yeah.
in the morning, especially when you just start the day, you shouldn't have too much thinking, right?
Yeah.
And you just try to clear it, and then with that mindfulness, I try to understand where should I go next, and what should I plan for the day.
Yeah.
Or people say, "Oh, I don't have time for like 10 minutes." Believe me, you have. With
Yeah.
everything you do, you still have 5, 10 minutes, and you really deserve that mindfulness. Because if
Yeah.
you don't, then I just compare the day I do the meditation and the day I don't. It's really
Yeah.
are different.
Oh, it's powerful, isn't it? And it's a choice, isn't it? Whether you find the 5, 10 minutes, and that impact that has on the rest of your day and the way you react and respond. It's just, it's I'm the same. If I don't do some type of mindfulness in the morning, how that does ripple out in the day. Even doing it while you can do it while you're kind of brushing your teeth, do it breathing in your nose, breathing out your nose. You can practice, doing the nose breathing. You can practice while you're in the shower, when you sit down on the toilet. Just those types of times you can stop and just kind of breathe. And when people are starting out in doing meditation, and this is what I found for myself, was people say, "Oh, no, I can't do meditation," or I'm not good at it, or whatever. But we're never good at anything generally at the beginning. So it's like anything. It's about, like going to the gym and building, lean muscle. It's the same thing. You've got to continue the reps. You don't have lean muscle and build, biceps and a good booty without, without doing rep after rep after rep. So it takes, it's like do 30 seconds, then do, a minute, then do 5 minutes, and then, build it up so that you build that trust in yourself. And the mind doesn't have to, because we can't, until you practice it a lot, your mind's not going to be super flat toned and you're not going to think about anything. It's about observing those thoughts. So if you're new and you're watching in, if you're new at starting these practices, be okay with the thoughts. Think about those things, acknowledge them, and let it go. Come back to the breath. Acknowledge those thoughts, let it go, and come back to the breath. You're not going to be silent in the mind, until you start practicing more. Like at the beginning, I was like thinking of all the things that I had to do. And it's like, why don't you shut down, mind? And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. Acknowledge it, let it go, come back to the breath. And you practice. The longer you do that, the less chatter and less chitter, because we live up so much in our mind. And it's like, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you should be doing this, should be doing that, you haven't done this. And, where that, in a mean girl, or whatever you want to call it, ego is telling you you shouldn't be stopping and being present. But the more we connect with our body and understand our body and listen to the signs of the pains or the gut or the any shoulder pains and all these kind of things, or headaches, they're all signs of something that isn't working, and you're storing either emotions, or you're storing trauma, or there's experiences, or toxins in your body, whatever it might be. The body's given us signs. It's and the language that the body's given talking to us about. It's about understanding that and listening to those signs before they get worse.
So, Kate, before we start the show, you told me about your pain, which you work on it, shoulder pain, right? So, how did you resolve it?
Yeah, so I hurt my shoulder. I had an aggravated pain, which I kind of came up from training, and it was a few weeks ago. Then it went away, and then it came back, and then I kind of had first thought, oh, it's just muscle pain, and then I'm like, no, there's more in this for me. So I started breathing into the pain, and it was about forgiveness and the past, because it was on my back, was past, right? And it was old, and I don't like I still not really sure exactly, but it must be a combination of a couple of things that I'm still maybe holding on to. But it was about letting go, and letting go of that last part, and forgiveness. And so breathing into that, and then the chest, like, because the pain of the back of my shoulder was coming into the front of my chest. And every time I kind of breathed or kind of moved, I could feel this pain across my chest. And I thought, what's that? So I just, same thing, breathed into that, the chest, and I could feel the emotions coming up, and it was some sadness and forgiveness of myself, of the currents kind of coming into my heart. So I just used the breath, and it was fascinating. Half an hour later, the pain had subsided, and I had some tears, and I just allowed that flow, and just we hold on so tightly, and that's what I was doing. I could feel that tension and holding on, this grip of these emotions. So I just was able to let it go and soften it, and it released.
I remember in the third day of summit, we talk about breath work, and you also give us some techniques. Can you mention, you already mentioned one of them. Can you mention another technique for the breath?
Yeah. So there's what you can do box breathing. The ones that is these are ones that you can just do quickly while you're on your own. So you breathe and imagine that you're breathing in and breathing out, breathing in, breathing out as you're going like around in a box. And it's an imaginative visual for a lot of people to be able to. So breathing in your nose and just you're visualizing as you've got your eyes closed going around in the square in the box is pretty much that method, and it takes your mind off what's external for a short period of time. So that's another easy and quick one. One that I'm practicing, getting one of my girls to practice because she's having trouble snoring asleep. So we're doing a test. We're testing and doing some monitoring, so writing down how many times she can actually breathe in her nose, because she's not a mouth breather, she's actually a nose breather. So we're just doing some practicing on, but I think one of her nostrils are actually quite blocked. So another practice you can do is breathing in your nose and just doing it on it both together and breathing out your nose, which automatically we go to breathe out our mouth. So we want to breathe, keep your mouth shut. And then finger on one side. Now try keeping your mouth shut and breathing in one nose. And see how that feels. Some people have blockage and then doing the other side. And practicing on both sides to, because one's more generally more dominant than the other. So being able to clear that airway and practice doing that is another way to, another method too.
So, what kind of clients do you have, and what kind of
Um,
programs you have?
Yeah, so I work with women on a holistic approach, and it's a group coaching which includes the breath work and the mindfulness and meditation and that holistic approach to eating, looking at the foods, emotions, and I do group coaching and one on one with the breath work. I am doing one on one. I'm going to start some group breath work because it is something I think will benefit a lot more people to be able to. So I do some free ones at the moment, once a month, which has been really popular. And so the one-on-ones is doing the core clearing, which is what I talked about before. And the type of women that I'm getting is that come to my program are just women that are feeling stuck, having no energy, not being comfortable within their own skin, not knowing who they are, their identity after they've had kids, and just know that they're not where they want to get to physically and emotionally. So I help them to work, go from having no energy, not feeling comfortable in their skin, to loving who they are and having confidence and having, shifting that unwanted weight and looking at life at a holistic approach and deleting that dieting mindset as well, and through the breath. And then the one-on-ones, like one lady had been to psychologists and psychiatrists, and spent over $20,000 on therapy to then come to me and do a series and in the first breath session she had a night sleeping issue, and it was she was diagnosed with this disorder, and she would it's a nocturnal sleeping problem. So she'd wake up at all hours of the morning and not be able to get back to sleep, and like an insomnia type thing, but it'd be certain hours of the morning she'd wake up. So she was that minimize that problem, and she uses breath every day to be able to help her. So things like that around sleep and anxiety and stress and emotional releasing is what I do and
All right,
what I help
you
people with.
good. You have the Facebook page, Impact Your Life, Kate Kendall.
Yep.
Again, Instagram, the same thing, but you have underline before Kendall, Kate underline Kendall, underline impact your life. So if you want to access her and work with her, you can actually go to those platforms to find her. Do you
Yep.
have any last words uh, to add to this show?
I just, if you are, having any problems with, in these areas and you want to learn how to do, it can be unfamiliar for people and, uncomfortable. I just recommend lean into that discomfort because that's where the magic happens when you can lean in and, you know, just step into that and enjoy the process because you'll see the magic.
Thank you so much, Kate. Hopefully, I can have you more and more in my
Yeah,
shows. Yes, thank you.
awesome. Thank you.
Please subscribe to Fanta Calhoun Transition channel and order my book, The Gap, in Amazon. Thank you for watching.